AMA on our Discord, and also the launch of Amplify Live, which is just gone live now. So you should be receiving your emails about claiming your NFT tickets shortly. I won't start with a long intro, but basically, we're bringing together emerging technology and an engaged global audience to create a community-owned solution that will empower a new music economy. With that being said, we've got everyone from the team here. I wanted to get an intro from everyone to give you all an idea of their backgrounds and where they all started in the music industry and the tech industry. So first off, I'll throw over to Irfan, who is the CEO of Amplify, and give you his story, and we'll get a little intro from everyone, and then we'll move on to more detail about the Amplify Live product.
Hi Sam, yeah, thanks for that. My name is Irfan Watkins. So for me, really, the idea of being able to use technology that I've been working in for the last few years, blockchain, Web3, decentralization, and apply that into my sort of number one passion, which is music, is a real sort of driver for myself, really. I think that the idea that new business models can be worked out and are being worked out right across Web3, but really not applied right now so much into live music is the thing that I think really sort of attracts me. Why should the music business not have a new model in live? It's the same model that's been there for a very, very long time, and really there are some benefactors of that and other ones that are not in this sort of industry. So from my side, it's sort of bringing the team together, working on a model whose premise is really that the gig can continue to pay out long after the actual gig is finished. So this idea that you can, as a musician, earn money 10 years from now from a gig that you performed at, how can we make that happen? And that's really at the heart of what Amplify Live is about. So my background is entrepreneur and investor and builder, really, in the Web3 space. If you want to follow me, it's on irvan.eth, and you can hear my ramblings there. But I'm going to hand over really to more important people. So Ian, my sort of co-founder at Amplify, it would be great if you could introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm Ian Matthews, better known as the drummer in Kasabian. I don't know where some of our listeners are coming from in the world, but we've been, I don't know, the last 20 years, I suppose, been really quite big, particularly in the UK and around the world. I've been a drummer all my life, really, musician. And, I've known Irvan about 20 years now. We've become very, very good friends. And, it was just getting to know Irvan and learning about what he was doing in this amazing sort of technological world. I'm a real newbie to the whole thing. Irvan brought me in, and it suddenly became very exciting. Possibilities, the endless possibilities that can be done with this technology, and the possibility of putting to bed or mitigating this sort of quite harsh feast and famine sort of culture within the music industry, particularly at like grassroots level. I've been very lucky to tour with one of the biggest bands in the world and sell millions of records and have 6 number one albums, blah blah blah. But before that, I played all sorts of kind of music. I'm from Bristol, and I played the Bristol music scene. I landed up on cruise ships and God knows what. I did all sorts. I was a proper jobbing musician, and I know full well that if you're ill, if something happens in your life and you can't work, you don't earn. And becoming part of this project with Irvon and starting to dream up of the possibilities we could do, and it soon became apparent to both of us, if we got this right, we could actually do something really positive for the entire music industry, really, particularly for musicians, small venues, small promoters. I mean, venues, they're constantly under threat. And you're constantly hearing about great venues that have been now turned into flats or whatever have you. I don't know. I mean, we're using these tools that we've got now, and being able to do something about that is amazing, I think. And I'll be very proud if we can achieve this. And we've been very lucky, me and Irvon, knowing with Irvon's experiences as well, we've been able to put together a fantastic team. I guess the next person I'm going to hand over to is Mark, who was the next guy to get involved to help me and Irvon sort of try and flesh this idea out and maybe try and break this idea. I'll hand over to Mark right now.
Thanks, Ian. I don't even know if you can hear me because I don't actually know how to use Discord yet. So.
I can hear you. You're here. You're here, Mark.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
So yeah. I'm Mark. My background is tech and product. I've been running a software company for 15 years, and I invest in startups as well. And my role with this really is to take the problem of how can we get artists and the people involved in live music to get paid what they're worth, and how can we turn that into a piece of technology and leverage the Web3 stuff to make that something tangible and useful. So while Ian hopes that we can do it, I know we can do it, and it's our job now. Literally we've just put this thing live as our first proof of concept, and it already feels like we're going to smash it. So that's my role. That's where I am. And I'm going to hand over to Sam.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah. So I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of Amplify. I, alongside my old business partner Harry, who's now the Chief Creative Officer of Amplify, we founded a smart linking tool and business called AmplifyLink, and grew that to 80,000 users over a fairly short space of time. And essentially Irfan and Ian, with the previous company Chapel, bought AmplifyLink, and we renamed the whole company as Amplify during that acquisition process. So I deal with all the marketing, which is why I'm hosting this AMA awkwardly. And I'll hand over to Harry now, just for a quick introduction to himself. And yeah, Harry, take it away.
So as Sam said, I'm Harry, Chief Creative Officer. I've been building websites and businesses for at least 10 years. Often in music, it's a big passion of mine. And yeah, just very excited to see where this technology leads us, and the creative challenges in particular associated with Web3. So yeah, looking forward to hearing any questions, unless anyone else needs intro.
Cool. Well, yeah, Meg's the only one. Jack,
Meg.
Yeah, Meg, I was about to introduce Meg, but Jack unfortunately couldn't be with us right now, and he's the lead dev. But yeah, so that only leaves Meg, who's the newest recruit. It started last week. So introduce yourself, Meg.
Hi, I'm Meg. This is a lot of stress. I literally, as Sam just said, started last week. I've been brought on to the design team, so I'm basically working on making things look nice, internally and externally. And yeah, I mean, my background's in kind of like animation, AR kind of stuff, or working with AR, VR, like new tech. So when I heard what Amplify were doing, it was kind of right up my alley, and I'm very excited to sort of get on board with the team and see where this goes.
Cool. I didn't actually say anything about my background, but my background goes into music on entrepreneurship for the last sort of 15, 20 years. So this was like when we built AmplifyLink, it was the perfect, when Irfan and Ian came to us and said, how about we join forces? It seemed like the perfect idea for us as a team, because it was combining an interest of mine, which is that the new Web3 technology, and also building something that can help musicians, and which is what we're all about with Amplify Link as well. So, with all the introductions out of the way, it's time to move on to the questions. So, first of all, Ian, I've got a few questions for you.
Okay.
It's two parts. What are the problems you see in the live music industry? And how does that sort of feed into your background more broadly, as rock star and also jobbing musician?
Yeah.
And
Go
yeah,
on, sorry.
well, I was going to say, and how did the idea come about more specifically, I guess, for Amplify Live?
Yeah, I mean, the nugget for Amplify Live folds back to actually me and Irvine know each other for a long time and be very keen to do something together. And we landed up buying a chapel in the middle of Wales, which is actually from Irvine's hometown. And we've got this lovely, beautiful building that we plan on renovating and turning that into a small venue, small performing arts venue. And that was really the springboard. I mean, for the idea of, well, what does community look like going forward? I mean, that chapel's been stood there for 200 years in the past, and it served its community in a certain way. But going forward, we're especially utilizing and looking into and utilizing Irvine's talent and experience within Web3. It's like, well, community's changing because not only will that building serve its own local community and presumably a wider audience from afar, for people who will travel physically to go and see artists and events there, but also, actually the globe is opened up to us. And this what kind of sort of springboarded us into thinking about the Web3 solution for a small venue, and then it became very apparent, well, small venues, but also musicians as well. I mean, the music industry it's not an easy space to be in, particularly when you take that leap of faith into becoming a pro. And as I sort of touched on earlier, if you don't work, you don't earn. And there's something amazing about the tools that we've got, where it seems like right now you do an event, people buy the tickets, the ticket money's held usually by an agency like Ticketmaster or something. Gig night happens, the ticket money is released to the promoter. Various people take their slice to promote the venue, blah blah. Musicians get it, musicians give the money out among themselves, and that's it, job done. That's the end of the experience, apart from maybe a fan holding on to a ticket and maybe buying a t-shirt. And that's great. But what we're presented with here is a possibility of having that. It's like having your cake and eating it, really. Having that experience, having everyone play, do the event, blah blah blah. Musicians be paid, bar people be paid, sound engineer, everything happens as normal. But on top of that, putting this extra layer of I can kind of say this, having this extra layer of investment that happens at the end of the night, which has happened long before, actually, with the ticket sales, money being put into our system, our protocol, where we can already start generating yield to go towards that show way before the shows happened. And afterwards, the yield from that being applied to the stakeholders within that event, the musicians and the promoter, whatever, and they can have the yield dropped off into their wallets once a month or whenever it's necessary, by creating a mini DAO for the event. So that's kind of, I'm going to hand over to Irvine actually at this point. But it's not to say the music industry is broken, but it's what we're moving to do is to make it so much easier for a band or an artist who has got up off on onto their feet and is doing the even at grassroots level, getting into the van, loading the gear, getting the van and doing a gig to several hundred people, and and been able to sort of build up an aggregate of yield from the shows that they do throughout the year, throughout the decade, throughout a career, basically. Yeah, I mean, obviously we've been through a blooming pandemic. I mean, me and Irvon were walking through a woodland, a local woods, dreaming up this, and we were right in the middle of the prime example of what I mean. You know, musicians, my mates, you know, we're like facing all sorts of meltdowns and, you know, having to like try and quickly retrain to something or try and get a job with Amazon or something, you know, and all those years of work that they've done, you know, applying their skills, which, you know, to become a musician, people don't realize, you know, the amount of work you have to put into that alone. And for a pandemic to come along and for the rug to be taken away right beneath their feet, you know, and something that me and Irvon are looking to really try and sort of stop, really. I'm going to hand over to Irvon. Irvon, please take up the reign.
Yeah, I was going to say quickly first before you do.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was going to say, I mean, you've kind of covered it really. The specific problems that artists face, especially around the pandemic. How do you think Web3 can help live music? Or maybe this is a question for Earthone, like more beyond the. Maybe this is a question for Earthone actually. How do you believe Web3 can help live music beyond what we've already talked about so far?
I think when you look at what Web3 tries to create, and I mean, Web3 can mean lots of different things to lots of different people, but really the way I think we look at it really is how can you sort of have and build direct relationships between the creator and the community that's interested in what's being created. We see that happening with things like NFTs right now. But actually, it's something that's really, you know, the music industry haven't done a great job of creating tools that build direct relationships between the fans and the bands and the musicians. There are companies, of course, such as, you know, lots of social media companies that will sit in the way between the fans and the bands and then charge rent for that type of relationship. But this idea of Web3 is that actually you can have a direct relationship, and actually therefore the value can be transferred between the fans and the bands and vice versa, you know, seamlessly, you know, as frictionless as possible, but more importantly, without companies sitting in the middle extracting, you know, rent basically or value from that relationship. So what I mean by that is, you know, when we look at Amplify Live, we're looking at sort of ticket revenues, sort of earning for the artist the minute that ticket is purchased by the fan. So unlike what happens right now, you know, you may purchase a ticket to go and see a band 6 months ahead of the time, and it sits in Ticketmaster or Live Nation or whoever account and does very well for them, but it doesn't do much for the band itself, and it certainly doesn't do anything for you as a fan other than it's left your account. So, you know, the idea that I can sort of buy that ticket 6 months from now, and I know that actually that purchase is benefiting the band straight away, you know, because I'm a fan of that band, you know, that's already delivering. That's Web3 delivering value. The idea then that ticket that we purchase could be an NFT, and that NFT, or, you know, would be in sort of proof that I attended the gig. Once again, that's a direct relationship between the band and the fan, because the band know who the fans are that turned up for the gigs and the ones that don't, and they can offer them extra benefits, meet and greets and so on, or first go at the tickets really before the general public. And then you've got the sort of ongoing use of DeFi that we do within Amplify Live, where we distribute the yield, the interest, the rewards basically to the participants of that gig, whether that be the drummer, the bass player, you know, the guitar tech, sound engineer or whatever. And that aggregates, you know, if they're doing 200 gigs a year, that amount sort of builds up. And you can just take a look at our link that we've sent out, and you can see that atomic clock sort of ticking up in the background of the value that we're already delivering from the event that's yet to be done. That's happening on the 5th of July. So Web3 really is about sort of, owning the relationship between the creator and the community, and having more control, disintermediating people who take money and don't add much value, and enable somebody, a small band with 1,000 fans, to earn a living. You don't need to be the biggest band in the world. Our job at Amplify really is to try to create as many sort of opportunities for musicians to earn a living, not to make them multimillionaires. That's not. There's lots of different things that can do that, and most musicians don't start off with that aim. They start off to sort of perform and do something that they love. And our job is provide tools and solutions and opportunities to enable the people to doing something they love and turn that into a sustainable income.
Cool. So Amplify is going to be a DAO. Why is a community-owned solution important to you guys? I know it's why it's important to me, but I'd be interested in the perspective of yourself and Ian.
I think for me, there's a few things really. One is, I think a lot of organizations going forward will be decentralized and owned by the community. It just sort of makes sense to do that. If you're talking about building a global presence, which we do at Amplify, then nobody knows the live music scene better in, say, Nairobi than people who live there. And the idea that we know best, we know how to put on a gig, we know who should be there, we know the ticket pricing, we know all of that sort of stuff. It just doesn't sort of work, and therefore creating an environment and an ecosystem where the community can participate and use the tools that we create in order to put on sort of live gigs and other things. Is really exciting. And, again, the decentralized business model should be that if people are doing that, then they need to be able to sort of participate in the earnings of that. They need to be able to have a say in the governance of it, how it's run, and so on and so forth. So I think a decentralized business, it can scale in the right way with people who are really interested and passionate about the sort of mission and the cause. I'm just a big fan of, and I think, speaking for Ian, it's the same with this idea of this, community-owned, decentralized, not-for-profit foundation that we're looking to build here. It's really far more exciting.
Yes, it is. There's the other thing I like to add to with everyone. Obviously, yes, the music scene in Nairobi, the music scene in Sydney, in Tokyo or Osaka, wherever in the world, music is being played. There is a scene. There are people there who know what their needs will be. But also, one of the exciting things that we're exploring right now is the possibilities of taking this into the metaverse as well for live shows. Being one of our plans is to do it ourselves, isn't it? And actually create a stage in the metaverse to show live music. When we get to that stage, there'll be people who will require certain sort of needs from a service like ours. Well, I say service like from a protocol like ours that we're building here, and they'll have different needs. So the Web3, as everyone says, is community-led business. It's the most flexible way that everyone can benefit from it.
Cool. Okay. Let's talk about the technology a bit. I know there's a couple of questions, but we'll get to that at the end. So Mark, let's talk about the tech. What emerging technology and proprietary solutions are we leveraging to achieve this? Talk a bit more about how it works. Obviously, without giving away the secret sauce, but yeah, give us.
Well, I think it's worth mentioning that I'm not the techie that's built this. I'm just the director of the tech, so I can't get too deep, even if we wanted to. But fundamentally, we're using a combination of DeFi, which we're just leveraging. Originally, we were going to use literally something off the shelf, and we've now built something proprietary. Which, I mean, have we posted the link yet? Can we actually send
Yeah,
people
we
to the?
Yeah,
Because like right now, we're looking at a 76% APY, which is absurd at the moment, even despite the crazy crypto madness that's going on. But the tech itself, basically, we're just leveraging pools, and we're making sure that we carefully pick the right pools to be using at the moment, based on Uniswap, and that's kind of as deep as we want to go without bringing in the techies who sadly can't make it today. So it depends how deep you want me to go, Sam. What do you want me to say? How far should we go?
How far down the rabbit hole? Yeah, I mean, I think that's enough. Maybe if people have specific questions, they can ask at the end, and we can go a bit further into it. Maybe.
I mean, some of the leveraging the NFTs, I think, is a really interesting part of the process. Again, that's as much about the digital, the kind of digital merchandising of the artists, which then feeds back into the pools that we've created, and then technically we're kind of increasing the pot over time for each artist and each gig, which I think is another interesting aspect of it as well. But again, these are things that we need to be demonstrating over time, and the link that we've just sent out, or this first test, is really the beginning of the tsunami, and that's why it's quite exciting. In fact, I'm actually there like tweeting the shit out of it, so, which is why I'm a little bit distracted.
I think, I think, Mark, you're right. I mean, it's. I think right now when we focus on Amplify Live, it's one of the tools in our toolkit, and it's sort of, but it's such a powerful one. This idea that, and it's just such a simple idea that it's the gig that never stops paying, and then we can build a whole business around that idea, which could be, as I say, the reselling of NFTs, all sorts of memorabilia, digital memorabilia, yield from DeFi, a whole range of different things. But the premise really, as I say, is this gig that never stops paying, and how can we make that happen? And we are making that happen. Like I say, you can just take a look at that link. It's happening.
Yeah, I think actually, Mark, it'd be good to get like if people are looking at that link, just to give an explanation of what exactly is happening, like the flow of it, essentially, in as simple terms possible.
Well, basically, I think what's happening. So, if you're crypto savvy, basically, you'll be able to look at that link and see the pool that we're using. I think we're using USDC and Matic right now, because we're minting on Polygon. And the reason we're minting on Polygon is because it's right now more environmentally sustainable to be using that protocol than Ethereum. And Matic is the token of Polygon, and USDC is a stable coin, which is basically linked to the dollar. So I think for this, as it currently stands, it's as simple as that. Really, we're using that sort of pool, and then the bit is that the bit that Web3 and companies like us have to fix and sort out is the user interface, the user experience. So there's no good saying like, oh yeah, we're just going to drop it into a Uniswap pool or a SushiSwap pool or whatever, and let's just crack on. Our job is to make this scalable to any musician, any promoter, any small venue, who can use their phone, set up a gig, choose the profile, whether it's low risk, high risk, however they want to sort of structure the deal, choose the participants, the economic participants. And in this case, what I mean is set up a wallet, really simply, so that the bass player has a wallet, the lead singer has a wallet, the recording, the sound engineer has a wallet, whatever. That's all set up on your phone. And you press mint or publish, and that's your smart contract done. It's called a trustless smart contract, because if one of the reasons for that is that if the lead singer falls out with a guitarist, and that happens a lot, then the gig keeps still keeps paying for both of them because you can't interfere with a smart contract. You can't go back and re-engineer it. It's sort of everybody gets their proper share as was agreed originally. So from that perspective, that all of that tech is happening behind the scenes, and we'll continue to invest in the background tech whilst making the user interface simpler and simpler and simpler. And there's a few things that we rely on as an industry to help us make it simpler. But we're going to see drastic and dramatic changes in the next sort of 6 to 12 months that'll just make Web3 just sort of more seamless. We're sort of seeing it now when we've got companies like PayPal and Stripe incorporating, crypto within their propositions. You'll just see sort of the adoption of wallets and setting up of wallets within services and products like Amplify, just as simple as setting up a PayPal wallet, basically.
Yeah, so I guess I kind of wanted to drill down a bit more into if you're setting up the event yourself. I mean, obviously we haven't launched a sort of public self-publishing platform yet, but say you're a promoter, artist, or venue that wants to create an event on the platform. It'd be good to talk through exactly the sort of process. So you would sign up, and then what happens next? I guess maybe Mark might be best placed to talk on this.
Are you talking about like in the future or right now?
Yeah, in the future, because I want people to sort of understand how this will work in the future, essentially.
Well, I mean, at its simplest, it depends on the promoter and the artist and how we get involved as Amplify, because like Irfan says, it's all about the UI. The idea is to make this as simple as possible. So a promoter's putting on a gig, and they come to the platform and they essentially say that we're going to deposit some of our ticket sales, and then Amplify will match some of those ticket sales based on some historic data. And in theory, the gig is already starting to create a yield because we've both co-invested essentially in the future of a gig. And the idea being that is, as Irfan says, right now that would be based on wallets, but in the future, as Stripe and PayPal integrate all these things into our everyday lives, it will be just as simple as it currently is to just go and set up any account with anything apart from it's going to be completely trustless. As that generates the yield over until the gig begins, so if there's 6 months between them setting that up and then the gig actually happening, we'll have generated X amount of yield or revenue before the gig starts. And then once the gig has started and the next stage happens, which will be the artists and the periphery of the gig itself, which again, as Irfan said, whether it's the roadies or the sound engineer, in theory, we can then start redistributing or distributing the yield based on everybody connecting themselves into the gig itself, which I think to me is the most exciting bit of the whole thing, is redistributing the wealth between everybody involved. It's the artist clearly is important, but so is everybody else. And I think the more seamless we can make that, the better. And at the moment, we know how to do this, and our roadmap now is about making that as obvious and easy as possible for all of the parties involved.
Also, how does the NFT memorabilia sort of play into the process as well?
Well, I mean, again, at this stage, the NFT world is having an interesting time at the moment. So, but if we assume that the digital merchandising, or even the memories, memorabilia, I think as Irfan called it, is whether it's personal from an artist point of view or whether it's part of the promotional package, if you like, from the promoter and whoever else is involved in the organizational side of it. The yield from those things, they'll be sold, fans will buy them, and the artist or whoever is selling them will take most of the cut of that. That's the current proposition. But some of that will go back into the pot that was originally set up by the promoter and us, and that will increase the yields that in theory will be coming back over the lifetime of that actual investment between the three parties. So the beauty of the NFT side of it is it does nothing but increase the yields for everybody forever in theory. Again, this is while the NFT world is reasonably well tested yet, so far it's growing very quickly and it's changing very quickly as well. So it will be interesting for us when we actually start to implement that with further acts and further events, which hopefully we'll be doing on our next event, but maybe the one after.
Okay, so this is a more general question, especially in reference to when we're sort of transitioning to a full digital autonomous organization. So what impact do you want Amplify and AmplifyLive to have, and why are we best positioned to achieve this? That's sort of open to anyone. Ian, have fun.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the future, it'll be amazing to have, as we were saying, a not-for-profit organization that can preside over a pot of money that is also able to be invested back into the world of music, whether it be education, whether it be, working out how to do loans and grants to up and coming musicians, or I don't know, techs, providing tools or providing teachers for, I don't know, anything to do with the development of music and the music industry. I mean, it could be, I don't know, it could be putting music teachers into a refugee camp. It could be, music schools, some kind of grant for continuing to maintain small venues. I mean, there's so much possibility going forward that we could do, with sort of this DAO. That's my point of view anyway.
I think, I mean, from our side, and I agree with everything that Ian just said, I think it's the key thing is decentralized. So we provide the tools, we create the catalyst, and what would be exciting, what I hope for, would be that the community themselves pick that up and run with it, enhance it, change it, add value to it, and it ends up being something that is used, and of value, for different communities around the world. And that's really at the heart of what a decentralized autonomous organization is. But of course, these decentralized organizations have to start off with a core team, a catalyst, a spark, some capital, to sort of go in to sort of kickstart that, really. But it'll have a life, because the community use those tools and it adds value to them. If we end up building something that helps, 10,000 musicians earn a living, that would have struggled to earn a living previously, then that's a hell of an achievement. If it's 1 million, even better.
Yeah, 100%. I particularly like the idea of being able to support and encourage sort of grassroots music, particularly sort of underrepresented backgrounds, and potentially give out grants to people to be able to like make the music. And because obviously there's been a lot of talk about access to music and how the charts are sort of skewing more certain ways. And yeah, I always liked when we initially talked about it, the idea of opening that up to more people and providing more opportunity. And I think that's what we're trying to do with the tech and also with the DAO more generally. So yeah, I think that's really cool. One thing else I want to talk about and touch on was the Amplify Genesis NFT, which is the chance for people to sort of get involved from the ground up, really. And I wondered if Irfan, you want to quickly touch on that and give a sort of rundown of what it is, why it's important, and what you sort of get for being involved at that point.
Yeah. So, well, we started this Genesis NFT when it's before we acquired Amplify. We were called Chapel then, and the chapel that we purchased was built in 1808, and so we minted 1,808 sort of Genesis NFTs. The idea really that if, as an owner of this NFT, you get preferential access to everything that we do, forever, really. And you also have the opportunity to physically actually, engrave your name in the slates on the roof of this old chapel that we have. And then we can be putting on events like chapel festivals and stuff like that, specifically for owners of that NFT. So it's really a way of getting in early, supporting the mission and the vision that we're on, and then sort of holding that and reaping the benefits of that of that ownership, really. So this gig on the 5th of July, for example, first gig, you can come if you've got an NFT, Genesis NFT. You don't need to be on the guest list. You're already on it by the nature of holding this NFT, and you can come and see the gig and meet the team and so on. So this is one of many as we sort of grow. And one thing, as I say, we've alluded to is, and Ian talked about the chapel being this community in the past, and what does the community look like in the future? Well, of course, by building a chapel stage, and in the metaverse, that will enable us to perform Amplify Live gigs on a much wider scale, not constrained by the size of the venue, but by the community within Decentraland or Sandbox or Other Side or elsewhere. The whole idea really of this Genesis NFT will enable you to sort of participate and join us on our journey and get in there early.
Cool. Yeah. So you mentioned the sort of metaverse, and I was about sort of touches on what I was about to bring up next, which was around the future of Amplify. So how do you see this sort of tech integrating with the metaverse, and what does the future hold for Amplify beyond the sort of short medium term that we've talked about so far today?
Well, we see live music and live entertainment changing, and from this idea of it being physical, to it being digital, and then very soon to being both at the same time. And I think when you take a look at the advancements in volumetric video, this idea that you can actually film a live event, and I think one of our next events will be done using this technology, film a live event whilst at the same time that live event is dropped into a gaming engine, and therefore enable you to navigate your way around the screen, around the stage, next to the artist as they're within Decentraland or Sandbox or whatever. That's a community. A music community starts to become physical and digital. And when you then apply Amplify Live as a business model to that, and you start charging ticketing revenue and you scale that up, then suddenly that becomes really exciting, because you can still offer that personal experience while also offering something very different to the audience, even though the artist is performing at the same time. One is in the physical space, the other is in a game engine, basically dropped into the metaverse, and all ticket revenue earning yield and being distributed back to the artist. And then, from that as well, that then sort of builds into the digital sort of merchandise NFT sort of model. And that's already been done, by Travis Scott, for example, who put on his gig, and I think he made quite a few $1 million selling digital merchandise in the forms of t-shirts and stuff. So that's the next stage, and Amplify Live is going to play a big part in putting on these like physical and digital live experiences, and leveraging our decentralized finance engine to sort of make more money for the artists.
Amplify as a business more broadly. So obviously you mentioned the metaverse, but is there a bigger vision with as of almost like a Web3 music company more broadly?
I think the one of the challenges, of course, in any early stage business is that ideas flow when the passion is there. I think if we can achieve disrupt the live music industry, create a Web3 platform to enable people to sort of earn more money from what they're doing. How that manifests itself in terms of what a Web3 music company looks like in the future. There's many different sort of avenues to pursue on that. But I think right now, we're sort of focused on doing one thing well.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as we move into a position where we are not for foundation based around the DAO, then I think we'll watch. Hopefully, it will be a positive evolution for what we've set up into the future.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so I guess that kind of brings us to questions. Whether anyone who's listening has any questions, or anyone on the team even who has any questions, it'd be.
I think Thaddeus had his hand up earlier on.
Yeah, Thad, are you there?
I made a cup of tea, I reckon.
Guess not. Well, yeah, if anyone has any questions, we'll be around the Discord pretty much 24/7. So just drop them in, and we're always happy to have a chat. And we'll do another AMA soon as well, with a sort of update on where we're at, what we've achieved so far, and the next step, especially in the sort of run up to the live show on July the 5th, which hopefully everyone, if you're local to Bristol, definitely send us a DM, and more than happy to stick you on the guest list to attend. But if not, you can claim your NFT and come and watch the live stream, and then see the tech and see an amazing artist as well called Ems from Bristol. You can see him perform live, and also get to see the tech working firsthand live on a big screen behind him as he's performing. So yeah, thanks for everyone for joining.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Sam.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cool.
Take care. Bye.
All right, speak to you soon. Bye.
Thanks, everyone, and see you around. Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah.